Okay, we should be live now. Hi, everyone. This is Liz from Media Dev, and today I am joined by Shai. Hi, Shai. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
Good. So for those of you that don't know Shai, I always introduce Shai as my right arm, although I don't think that's the greatest job title. I think maybe everything manager would be a better job title for Shai, because Shai is always helping in the back office, doing a little bit of everything, helping to train agents, onboarding with new clients, getting scripts prepared, training, coaching, monitoring, and really ensuring that the lead generation campaigns that we run are a success. So that's today's topic, in fact, best practices for making any lead generation campaign a success. So I'm excited to have Shai here today to talk about his vast experience in this domain. So I'm just going to dive right into the questions now. So Shai, from your experience, what are some things that are absolutely necessary to have when launching a new lead generation campaign?
Okay, so first of all, I think that both right arm and manager of everything is kind of a bad job title. No, but okay.
Sorry.
But yeah. No. So before we start the campaign, I think some of the things that we have to have is first a good segmentation of the market. And that's probably coming from good data. And when we talk about data, we know how problematic it is to have personal data stored. But we do need to understand the target. First of all, we get the details from the client, right? We know what kind of companies they aim for because we do B2B campaigns. So what size they should be, what revenue, any other criterion specification, and then we need to understand, the markets that we are looking at. How are they constructed? How many companies do we have in target, or at least approximately? And what do we know about them? So if we talk about ISVs, then what do we know about those ISVs? What do we know about their offering, their vertical, the horizontals, the solutions they provide? Just basically to get a little bit of an idea how much of this market can we capture? Statistically, how many leads can we really generate? And I think this is probably the best starting point. I think also with the client, after understanding the value proposition, after understanding everything that they want to do, um, we should define the best cross-channel strategy. So, are we going to approach companies and people by phone? Are we going to do it for social media? Are we combining the methods? How do we combine the methods? When are we combining the methods? When method really makes sense. And I think different markets, different regions, based on our experience, right? They differ, and different strategies apply. But the combination of, I think, understanding the market, really understanding the value proposition from the client, and having people that really understand the topic and really close to the IT world, to the software world, that can deliver on this value proposition. Of course, that's priceless and integral part of the process. But the market segmentation, the ability of the agents to deliver the value proposition, and defining the right strategy based on the different channels, it's probably the right pillars to make the campaign a success. It's all for the purpose, I think, of touching the market as quickly as possible. Because we want to start working for a client, and we want to understand how many companies and how many relevant people and organizations are out there. How much do we know about them? How many of them can we reach out to quickly to really understand who has some kind of an opportunity, who is a space to implement a certain solution, and just take it from there. So I think, that would probably be the ideal start. So yeah.
And what should clients keep in mind when they kick off a program with a new vendor?
I think I think clients would like to know, and that's just my opinion, that vendors are really going to adjust based on their needs. The campaigns that we do, so we're very special. We're uniquely focused on the IT space and software. And I think that's very different from, let's say, promoting coffee machines, because there's like endless amount of people that like to drink coffee. But if you talk about a certain payment solution, or you talk about a certain database technology, you have to be a lot more knowledgeable, and there's a lot less people and organization in in certain regions that the value proposition is going to touch them. So I think that clients should understand that their vendor really knows the value proposition, really close to the IT world, and can easily adjust, because we've seen in so many campaigns that we start something, we think we have the right method, we think that we have the right strategy, we think that a certain value proposition and the delivery method is going to work. And we dive into the campaign, we talk to people, we talk to decision makers in some of the biggest organizations, and we learn something different. We learn that a different delivery method is going to work. We learn that maybe they don't have needs where we thought they have, but the business needs lie elsewhere. And you just have to quickly be able to inform the client that, hey, we discovered something different, that something different is going to work, and somehow turn the whole methodology around. And I think that if you can't do it quickly enough, it's probably going to turn into a big problem. So adjustability, the ability to really understand a very techy value proposition, I think they're super important. And I think that with some vendors, I notice that it's very easy to get lost in all kind of sales metrics. But it doesn't necessarily give clients what they want. I mean, there's a lot of matrix that you can fall into with marketing, right? I mean, how many people open the email, how many people clicked on the email, how many people expressed this and that, and keywords. But at the end of the day, clients mostly want to sell, and selling solutions, selling software, we have to get the right person engaged, and we have to know that there's a certain business need, that there's a pinpoint that we can leverage, that our clients can leverage, and build something over that. And that's mostly going to come from a very meaningful, substantial human interaction, agent to prospect interaction. So I think that in order to make sure that you really get what you want, that you really get meaningful results, and not just an abundance of sales matrix, you need to have a vendor that can adjust really quickly, and that can really sometimes a very complicated and techy value proposition.
Completely agree with that. So what are some red flags that you need to watch out for when running a lead generation campaign?
Um, well, there's many. Like I said, sometimes we think that we know how to deliver the value proposition, and we engage with technical decision makers or business decision makers, and we realize that we were wrong. Like we should probably mention things differently, or change the pitch. And that's something that we can flag kind of early. I think that sometimes we realize that the expectation doesn't really fit the timeline, and that's become a little bit popular now with the COVID-19, with a lot of people working from home. We often speak to IT decision makers, and we realize that even though there was a lot of interest in a certain solution, let's say, they didn't have the budget. The timing was awful, but they were really willing to stay in touch. They were willing to review materials. They were happy, to probably be in with the client until the uncertainty is over, and then see when they can launch a project. So sometimes the dry numbers don't really fit the timeline, but I think if we can explain that, and of course if we can explain the reasons, there's still a lot of value. So adjusting expectations, I think, to the timing. And sometimes I think that we notice that the content that we're using is maybe not as engaging as we thought, and I think this is something that if we tell the client, we usually, or either we create the content ourselves, we can solve. So I think these are some of the more common red flags.
How is having feedback from our client sales teams fundamental to ensure success?
Very much so. So, I mean, ironically, I think that if we compare two clients, one is really engaging and has direct communication with us, and sometimes even the agents. And we have frequent training calls, and they follow up in 24, 48 hours after the lead is submitted. And we have clients like that. And we have had clients that didn't give us feedback for weeks and sometimes months. And although we are 100% sure that the lead quality is the same, the outcome is completely different. It's just, I think that this business is essentially is made of people. And I think that when we have our clients and their salespeople really in touch with the agents, the people that are making the conversations, that can explain to them what happened, why it happened like that. They can really understand what our clients are looking for, what they want, what is their focus. Then the whole process has become so much easier, and we've seen the same quality of leads sometimes get immediate follow-up, immediate feedback, very much in touch with what clients ask for, and the same quality of leads or the same methodology with a client that is not doing a very frequent follow-up. It's just different worlds, really something completely different. So yeah, it's just a huge factor to make a campaign a success.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that when we work in a silo and we're not able to exchange regularly, it makes it hard on both sides. Um, so yeah, I definitely think that it's a good idea to have frequent contact and interaction. Can you describe what the campaign setup process involves?
So usually for us, of course, first we have to understand from the client what is it that they're looking for. So the value proposition. I know everybody, a lot of clients think that they don't have competition or that the competition is not as good, and it's often not correct. And we really, I think, in my opinion, everything that we can learn about any edge that they have in the market, anything that differentiate them from the competition, is at the end of the day is going to be a huge help, because we have to study our clients, we have to study the solutions, the products, we have to know what we're talking about. So after getting this information and after understanding the target audience, the region, any job title in the organization that might be a good target for us, then we start this process of market research and data preparation. So we want to understand, like I said, how many organizations do we have in that specific market that we can target? What do we know about these organizations? Who is the better target? Who is the least better target? And then, of course, training the agents, making sure that they're up to speed with everything, that they understand the value proposition. Thinking about all the different delivery methods, all of the different pitches, and all the ways we can approach different people in the organization, mentioning the edge, the things that are more relevant to them. Of course, if we do social media, then setting that up, and yeah, and I think that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah, and then like you said earlier, that kind of loop where we deliver leads, the clients give feedback, and we continue to improve the process along the way. And I do agree with you when you say, we have to do kind of cross-channel marketing and, preparing those email pitches and preparing, pitches for the phone or pitches on, in-mail messages on LinkedIn, for example. Like all those different aspects are important to get down kind of as we start. But I do agree with what you said before, which is that we also need to be able to pivot and be flexible and adjust if things don't go exactly, how we had planned initially in that setup phase. So, why do you feel continual coaching is important for our telesales agents?
So I think this is really connected to adjustability. I mean, I think that We know this is sometimes really not scientific. We know that especially when we speak to decision makers over the phone, a couple of different words here and there can make a world of a difference, right? So is the feeling of confidence that that people know what they're talking about, can really make the difference between a conversation that is developing into a lead, that is developing on something that can be followed up on and into a sale, and something that just goes nowhere, right? Because
Mm.
the prospect just doesn't want to talk to you. So I really I think I'm a purist in that regard. I really think we should know as much as possible. Of course, we will never be as technical as some of those IT managers that we talk to. We are not gonna, we're not going to call a multi-billion-dollar company, speak to some of their most technical people, and pretend to be more technical than them. It's never going to happen. Um, but we should know what we're talking about, and I think that the level of conversation and the level of an agent that really knows the material, it's again it's priceless, and sometimes it's hard to quantify just how many opportunities are lost because the other side feels that maybe the person that speaks to him is not so confident, he really is not sure what he's talking about. So I think that the coaching aspect, is it's never ending. But also, I think that I realized with time that, we work with clients that have data analytics solutions and backup and recovery solutions and database technology, and ERPs, workforce management solutions. And I think that there's certain topics in like analytics and AI that if you understand them, that they just manifest themselves in different aspects of business. But the issue is sometimes the same, like lack of insight, right? Lack of insight is an issue that can appear, for people that deal with operations as a whole, marketing, sales, and the solutions, the applications that answer those business challenge are different, but the topics are kind of the same, right? It's like the same issue that is manifesting in many
Mm.
areas of business, and I think that agents that can make those connections, right, that maybe they can speak to a sales director and hear something, lack of insight, lack of ability to aggregate data, and the more that they know, it will start to bust them that it's probably affecting a lot of other people in the business in many other direction, and then they can really connect to those people and really build on that conversation. So yeah, it's super important and something that we try to do all the time, right? I mean, kind of coaching is it's never ending. It never feels like it's enough, because it probably isn't. I mean, it's just you can always learn something new. So
Yeah, and it's true too. I mean, there are always going to be the instances as well where no matter how good we are, there's still going to be other, prospects at the other end that are just not in a good mood that day. So, I mean, I do think there is that aspect too. Like you said before, it's human to human interaction. So there is also that element. But it's also about persistence. And I do think that coaching, is just part of the persistence aspect of trying to perfect. And at the same time, there's always a variable, which is that every company is different and every decision maker is different and every, person that we talk to is going to be different. So there's also that
right.
aspect to deal with too, which personally is why I think the job is so interesting because it changes all the time. You don't have the ability to get bored no matter
Yeah, and
what,
it's so
no
frustrating
matter what.
because it's never something that works once. You sometimes you're not sure
True.
it's gonna work again because a different market or a different value proposition. So yeah, interesting and frustrating at the same time. Uh,
Challenging
challenging.
for sure. So, as most of the people listening probably know, we do focus a lot on OEM types of campaigns. So, OEM versus end user campaigns, which type do you prefer and why?
I think the OEM campaigns. I think that at the beginning when we started to do OEM, I think it felt like something a little bit more intimidating because we mostly did end user campaigns. But now I think it's probably a little bit nicer because I feel that with time people are just not they don't want to be sold anything, right? I mean you call people and the moment that you feel you're trying to be a little bit salesy, you want them to spend money on anything. I think it's just an instinct of ours, so you just get an immediate pushback. And with the OEM campaigns, it's not about benefiting the individual so much as it's about benefiting a product or a service that the company is making. So I think in that way they tend to listen a lot more. Um, and when it's coming to spending and it's coming to progressing, I think they feel okay, so this is something that is actually supposed to improve the value proposition as a whole, or something that can benefit our clients, something that can benefit the end user at the end of the day.
Mm.
So okay, let's talk now regardless of the money. It's more like that. And with the end user campaign, I think that again with time we see that people's mentality is like, okay, you want to sell me on something, I'm just not interested. Yeah, so for me the OEM campaign is a little bit more interesting, a little bit more sometimes nicer to run. And sometimes we do both. I mean, we have clients that we run OEM campaigns and end user campaigns at the same time, which is also kind of an ideal scenario because you call a company, um, and sometimes they have solutions that they develop on their own, but they also have business needs that we can jump into end user conversation, which is also great. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best, is being really open about the deliverable and being able to have kind of a plethora of choice, because we do come across so many different types of opportunities. Working with software vendors, we've even come across, reseller opportunities when we weren't expecting to have those, or end user leads, like you said, when we were perhaps going after, an embedded ISV to ISV partnership. So it is good to have an open mind. It's true that sometimes, though, our clients have budgets that are set aside for specific actions, so it's not always possible. But I think when it is, that's really the best, bang for your buck, is being open to any kind of conversation that we can have, and then just seeing where it takes us.
right. And it's also coming to feedback, because with clients that really stay in touch with us, and we can discuss the scenarios. I mean, we have clients that, let's say, allocated budget for OEM, and we came across end user leads, and they ended up being big deals developing, right? I mean, they had a lot of value. So a client that we really don't have such frequent feedback, and we can't discuss that, basically the opportunity is lost. And a client that we can explain the situation, we can think together what to do. Sometimes they rotate those end user leads, let's say, to the relevant department, and they can follow up. So yeah, it's ideal when it's coming together as a whole. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that goes back to just to, our vision of holistic marketing. And, that comes before, like you said, with cross-channel, omni-channel, always on types of activities, instead of working in a silo, like we said before. So good. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about what we can do to make sure any lead generation campaign is a success?
Um, I think we covered most of it. I think that I'm sometimes myself, I'm just surprised as to how much work we have now in the COVID-19 situation.
Everybody needs leads.
Yeah. No, it's insane. The big tech companies, they didn't take a hit like other markets, and the tech industry remained pretty much active. So it's kind of crazy. But yeah, no, it's just really amazing because 5 years ago, I mean, what did we used to discuss? We used to discuss antivirus solutions and things that today seems like ancient history. And today, what do we discuss? AI algorithms and machine learning and serverless infrastructure and
Blockchain and IoT.
yeah. So it's so interesting to learn new things. And when we get a client that has something that we might find a little bit new, that we also have to learn, it's exciting. Yeah, I mean, who knows what we're going to discuss in 10 years, like quantum computing or something crazy. I mean, it's really the possibilities are endless. So yeah, that's yeah.
Super. Thank you so much for your time today, Shai. And for those of you listening, for other great resources, including other podcasts, check out our resource library at mediadev.com. And we'll see you back soon for another episode. Thanks again.
Thanks. Thank you.